What's the name?
Tim Fight.
Fight.
Okay.
But
don't ask me what they say.
No, I can find it.
Library in the history and did it about 1967. Barnaby, what's his name? Robert Barnaby. But I think you might want to see the DVD sometime of when the Black African Caucus invited them to talk about that Black education. And somebody in the audience said, what would it take to get you to come up there? I said, about $275,000. Because I said, you're going to have to pay me full endowment chair and give me the right to hire 2 more people. Because I ain't come up there by myself. So in 1996, when I was at the fight table in 94, Francis. And James had this affirmative action program that if you are qualified, and they have an opening, you get first time.
Yes.
Now, I have 6 college degrees. 4 degrees. In American studies.
Hey, I'm LaShell. Nice to meet you. Hey. I was about. Yeah. Sit next to me.
I'm Noelle. Nice to meet you.
I'm LaShell.
Oh, nice to meet you. I'm sorry. Excuse me.
Excuse me, everybody. We're about to start our next panel. This will be our student discussion panel. But first, we have some people here from St. Louis City, St. Louis County who want to talk about voter registration, which is very important. And they're going to come up and give their talk real quick.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mike. My name is Monty, and this is Mike. We are with the Missouri Democratic Party, and this is a nonpartisan event, and so we just want to make sure that people are registered to vote or that know the importance of registering people to vote and voter education. So we will be around the city and St. Louis County, maximizing our efforts towards that. So if you are affiliated with an organization on campus or within the community, we can talk to people about voter education, registration. Also, I would love to connect with you all on a one-to-one level because we can probably organize something, maybe like a debate watch party or anything of that nature. So again, my name is Monty, and that's Mike. And so, we'll be out in the front. Thank you.
This is a great opportunity, too, for us to take the dialogue and actually turn it into action. So if you guys got anybody that you know that's not registered, please contact us and just let us know. All right, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Now, we're about to start our student leader discussion, but first I'll have the panelists introduce themselves and give a quick bio of themselves, starting with Ms. Taevin.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Taevin S. Lewis. I currently serve as the Student Government Association President of the illustrious Harris-Stowe State University. I am a junior biology major from Memphis, Tennessee. I currently have a 3.6 as a junior biology major, and I'm also going to study occupational therapy at Washington University. I also serve as a honeycomb majorette in my university, as well as a White House Initiative HBCU All-Star. So it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Hi, my name is LaShell Eikerenkoetter. I am a graduate student at Lindenwood University. I work as a videographer and photographer and just a freedom fighter.
Hi, I'm Noelle. I'm a junior here at SLU. I study African-American Studies and Women's and Gender Studies. I'm also an SGA senator as a BSA representative on SGA.
Hi, my name is Alan Mitchell. I am a current undergraduate student at Lindenwood University. I'm pursuing a degree in anthropology, and I'm the president of the Black Student Union on campus.
From hashtag Occupy St. Louis to hashtag Concerned Student 1950, student activism has become central to discussions of equity and inclusion on college campuses across the nation. The work of student activists has shed light on historical and contemporary issues, from racial and gender legacies to recruitment, admission, and retention of faculty, diversity, and tenure and promotion. Student leaders are asking questions and initiating dialogue for equity in the 21st century. So my first question to the panel is, how do you balance student life and other activities with your activism work? It's open to anybody to answer first.
Okay. Well, again, as the current Student Government Association president, as well as a honeycomb majorette, and as well as having high scholastics, time management is everything, as well as faith. I am very unapologetic about my faith, so I try to make sure that I'm grounded in my faith and just make sure that I keep my eyes on the prize. So time management will be key for me, and just making sure I'm very organized and prioritized as well.
Oh, I guess it's my turn. For me, being a full-time student, that's a job in itself. But being a full-time student working to pay their way through school, that's multiple jobs. So for me, time management is very key, because I know for me personally, at one point I was working 3 jobs and going to school full-time. It was kind of rough, but I got through it, I made it, and I'm still going. So, yeah.
For me, it was a little bit different. When Ferguson initially happened, I just graduated from Southeast Missouri State University.
Ms. LaShell, can you speak closer to the mic, please?
Oh, sorry. It was a little different for me initially with Ferguson because I just graduated from Southeast Missouri State University, but my sorority and my friends from college was the reason that I first even came out. So I had a little bit more free range from the school aspect of it, but it was those collegiate students that were out there in the streets initially. Now that I'm in graduate school, and when Philando Castile happened and Alton Sterling happened, and we were in Ferguson every night while I had class and doing homework and all of these things that's going on, time management really is key, because you want to go to the meetings to plan actions. You want to go to the actions. You want to go stand and yell and protest, but you got class and you got this homework. So time management is key. And I used to procrastinate so much, but I really learned that a calendar and scheduling your time is like vital.
I also want to speak to that a little bit. I came onto SLU's campus as a first-year student 2 weeks after the murder of Michael Brown. So from the time I stepped on campus, this tension between school and activism was always there, and always competing with one another for my time, for my energy, for my mental health, all of that. And so I had to make and continue to make every day like this choice between which one am I going to prioritize, because it can't be both. It has to be one or the other. And so I've just made a commitment to myself to say justice is my priority. That's where I'm going to be. Ultimately, it doesn't matter what number GPA I walk away with if my body isn't free when I step off this campus. So, there was a time during, it must have been finals, this past finals week, a man was shot in the Central West End, and I had a 15-page paper due the next day that I hadn't started. And so I said, well, this is where my body needs to be. So the paper will get done eventually, but I have to prioritize justice in my life. And that's a constant struggle for me. And that doesn't mean that I'm neglecting studying. I have a very high GPA, but sometimes because I struggle with perfectionism, I will stay up until 5:30 in the morning to finish a paper, so that I can maintain a really high GPA, but also do the justice stuff, which is to say that that sometimes sacrifices my mental health and emotional health and all of that. so it's difficult to be a student and to do activism work when, yeah, like you said, like being a student is a job. But as people of color, as people who are marginalized in society, we have this other job that's forced upon us, right? Like, you don't choose activism. Nobody wants to have to be an activist. We have this other job that we have to do based on the identities we were born with. And so it's a constant struggle.
I'd like to touch on one of the points that Ms. Noelle brought up of trying to balance that emotional and mental stability and health. What advice do you have for students who are entering college? Like myself, I'm a freshman coming in. How do you try to maintain that mental and emotional health while trying to be so active? What advice do you have?
I speak to that because these past 2 years, working in justice and doing that work, you always feel like you have to be this super strong person and nobody can see your weakness because you're out here fighting and you're standing up for something, and it's a lot of times you don't even realize what you're taking in. It's a lot of negativity out there. It's a lot of negativity that you get from people. We live in a generation of social media, so you get it constantly. If you're out there, you get it constantly. So anybody that I feel like wants to do this activism work, it's called self-care. I call it self-care. I take a day self-care Sundays, and I do everything that I love. I will go do some photography of taking a picture of a flower and just what I can do to make me feel better. So I think that it's always, we're so checked in. Make sure that you check out sometimes and just make sure that you focus on you and the things that make you happy outside of it. Always have something outside of it that can bring you joy.
Yeah, I think for me, self-care obviously looks different for different people. So, like, I'm just sharing what works for me. Something that I've always told myself is feel it all, right? So, like, feel the weight, really, the burden of having to constantly advocate for yourself and people who look like you and people who are like you. So sometimes that looks for me just like my friends are going out, I'm going to stay in, and I just, like, need to cry for a second. And let that be okay. And sometimes it looks like, you know, my New Year's resolution for myself was treat yourself, right? So, like, sometimes that looks like I'm going to stay in and I'm, like, going to eat a pizza by myself, and I'm not going to judge myself for that because that's what I need. And for some people, it looks like, you know, if you're of age, like, going out with your friends and having a good time and just, like, unplugging, really, like, checking out. I journal a lot. That's how I, like, process my feelings about things. So that's something that I do. But I also, you know, like, play Xbox. Like, that's something that allows myself to just, like, get away for a second and enjoy something outside of justice, but also finding spaces where you can process with other people who get it.
Yeah. Just to piggyback off of my cohorts here, being really in tune with your feelings is probably the best thing that you can do. I know for me, growing up, I have 5 younger brothers, and I am the only girl and the oldest child. So it's like, I say that they're my little wolf pack. So I have little wolves behind me that's looking up to me. So sometimes, you know, we say, oh, I can't do this right now. Oh, I can't cry right now. Oh, I'm just going to push it back. But that's how we get depression and schizophrenia. You know, that's how all of those things come about, because you're pushing your feelings back. So being in tune with your feelings will be great so that you can understand what you're feeling. And also, for anyone who is just coming into college, understand who you are. And if you don't understand who you are, figure it out. High school was for trying to figure out who your friends were, what group am I gonna, mean girls group am I gonna get a part of, do I want to be a jock, that's not college. College is about finding you, because it's you now. Like, you don't have your mom and dad anymore. It's all about you. So my advice to anyone would be find yourself first, because when you know about yourself and when you know who you are, where you want to be, how you're going to get there, the plan may not go exactly how you want it to, but at least have a plan. So that's just my piece.
to speak to what Taevin just said, for me, I'm going into my third year at a private institution where I'm an extreme minority. With that said, I'm just now getting to a point where I'm trying to find out who I am. What is it that I really want from my life and from the individuals that I surround myself with? So that is the best advice that I've heard thus far about college, is just to find you. As far as checking out goes, all of you guys' ideas on checking out sounds fun, but me, because I'm always at work, my idea of checking out is going to shop.
Yeah.
Do I get to wear the stuff? No, because I'm always in uniform, but I get to check out sometimes.
Speaking on coming in this freshman year, speaking directly to African American experience, what can be done to help African American students feel more welcome on campuses on which you serve personally?
So for me, being a student at Lindenwood University, our campus is one of the few in the area that doesn't have any kind of center for diversity, multiculturalism, none of that. At this point, obviously, with all these other universities, adding those kind of centers and, locations and groups on campus, we are working on it, but it's still not there. So as far as creating a welcoming environment, I think part of it needs to be on the university themselves. As a cultural studies student, I feel like the more cultural studies classes you take, the more culturally welcoming you become. But on top of that, I feel like there needs to be some accountability for students as well. Because when I first walked onto campus, I met, black students, white students, Asian students, and all of them seemed unapproachable. I got to know them on a personal level, and now I know that they're some of the nicest people I know, but just looking at them standing there with their arms crossed with a straight face, I would have never known that. So I think that as students and as a leader on campus, I not only have to make myself accountable, but I have to make everyone else around me accountable for making students, and any student for that matter, feel welcome.
I'd just like to quickly introduce Ms. Taylor. She just joined the panel. Can you please give a quick introduction of yourself?
Yeah. Sorry about that. My name is Taylor Deed. I'm the president of Maryville's Association of Black Collegians, Maryville University in West County. I'm a senior graphic design student, and I love my ABC, so I'm ready to jump in on the panel.
I'll just reintroduce the question. What can be done to help African American students feel welcome on campuses on which you serve?
Well, I am the only historically black college or university here in St. Louis, Missouri. So you would think that with me attending a HBCU, like we're just all kumbaya, la la land over there, and it's not at all. It's so hard to get our students to work together, and I don't know if it's I'm almost about to graduate, so I don't really care, or those problems aren't my problems, so I don't really care, when in reality, we're all black, and each problem is all of our problems. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. So just because it's not happening to you directly, that doesn't mean that it's not going to affect you in the long run. So in my institution, with Student Government Association being the head, I took the initiative this year to partner with every student organization. So we have 47 student organizations on our campus. So I will potentially have, not realistically 47 events, but events to where I partner with almost every student organization. I know that sometimes people you're the president, so you should really have to worry about that. You should worry about external things. No, this is internal. We have to worry about things from the inside out. So if we want our HBCU to have a different perception and a different image, then we have to work from the inside out. So making everyone feel inclusive would be my number one thing to assisting our students to feel like they're welcome. Hey, would you like to assist us with this community service event? Hey, would you please come, please join, just a consistent reaching my hand out to them, because I can no longer wait for those to say that they want to join, because now everyone's all timid and, I don't know what they'll think about me, or, my mom, she don't want me to do stuff so just continuing to be in that helping hand for our HBCU. That's what we try to do. Unfortunately, we don't have to endure some of the things that my cohorts endure, but we are definitely, as the only HBCU here, we are definitely open to assisting any student no matter what university they go to.
I think for us at SLU, the unfortunate thing about being a person of color, especially a black person on this campus, is that as a student, you have to work as a student support staff member. That's your job as a black student, to make sure the black students are retained. So that's like a primary mission of BSA, when like there should be people who do that job as their actual job. Like they get paid to do that. And there are people, but I think for us, as black students on campus, we have this unfair expectation to work to do this other job in addition to the 5 billion jobs that we do. And I think for me, I think it's simply about hiring people. Like that is a very tangible step that we can take, hiring people and retaining them. So you mentioned not having a cross-cultural center, diversity center on your campus. Well, we have one of those, but we aren't able to retain staff members because we're on a predominantly white campus that is a hostile environment to anyone who's different. And that's just true. So because of that, we're forced then as BSA, and even if you're a black person who's not affiliated with BSA, you then have to check in with people you don't know to make sure that they're going to class, that they're taking care of their mental health, that they're going to church or whatever their place of worship is, that they're doing all of those things. And it's very simple for me. It's about hiring people and making sure they stay, and also not just staff people, but also professors. At SLU, the only black professors I've ever had have been in the African-American Studies department. That's a problem. That's a real problem. There's a problem that, when we look at the upper administration, we don't see black faces. That's a problem, because if I don't see a black person in a position, I don't think I can get there. This is a school with immense wealth. If we can't find a way to hire black people and get them to stay, then what does that mean for me as a black student? And it's about like the curriculum, right? Like we have something called U101, which is like an introduction to college course. We have SLU 101, which is your introduction to SLU. And all of these places where there should be curriculum about diversity or whatever meaningless word you call it, there should be curriculum about that. There should be attempts to educate white folks and everyone about black culture and black people, but those things are absent. And I don't think that we can expect black students or black staff or black professors to be retained if we don't actually make an effort to do so. So that's my long-winded answer.
Right, that was good. Looking at that for myself, I've kind of become a radical in a lot of ways. So I don't think that it's up to a university to make me feel comfortable on the campus, because if you're at a PWI, predominantly white institution, historically they weren't there to make me feel comfortable, so I don't look for them to make me look comfortable now. As my brother said, the accountability I feel like is a lot on us. I am a part of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, those Black Greek letter organizations. I believe the accountability is on us. You have people that's been on campus for a while that are freshmen, juniors, sophomores, seniors. They know the campus. They throw community events. Stepping back to 2008 when I was a freshman on Southeast Missouri State's campus, the first things that the Deltas did was have a welcome back picnic and a welcome back party. that all of the African American students knew that you were supposed to attend. And that's where we met each other, and that's how we got to know each other. We had common hours. So on Wednesdays, we had an hour from 12 to 1 where nobody had class, and you knew to go to the UC, and you were going to see all your friends, and you're just going to have a good time. So I think that I step away from trying to feel like an organization or a university or an institution is supposed to do anything for me. I don't believe in that anymore, but I do believe that my brother, my sister, if I see you, I'm going to say hello. If I see you, I'm going to invite you to a community event. If I see you, I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to hug you. I'm going to embrace you. I'm going to let you know that I love you just because we share this skin color, and it's already hard enough for us. So that's just my take on it.
Yeah. I definitely want to agree with you about being conscious on when you see someone, you say hello and you invite them into your life and you make them feel comfortable, because being the campus that Maryville is, it's so small, and the first thing that everybody says about Maryville is that it's so great, it's a community, it's so small, you know everybody. Well, you see everybody every day, but that doesn't mean that you know them. It's a bunch of acquaintances at the end of the day. And so the primary mission of our ABC, Association of Black Collegians, is to provide a community and support for the black students on campus, but to also integrate black culture and introduce black culture and make it a part of the campus environment in general, so that our students don't feel like they have to be a different person in ABC than they are in the classroom. Or obviously in the classroom, most times you're the only person of color, let alone the only black person. So you might feel differently there, but when you come into an ABC setting, or not even an event, when you see me on campus, you know that you can be yourself and that you can be who you want to be, whatever that definition is. So I feel like with us, it is a little bit more responsibility on the organization to provide, to do that, to go the extra mile, because if we kind of counted on just our students to have the sheer will to come, that's a lot, that's pretty hard for a lot of people, especially being, it's tiring, and it's just a lot easier and a lot better on the soul to at least reach out to someone and say, hey, I hear you, I see you, I want you to be a part of this, and I hope that you will join like our family and whatever else. But, you know, I think that letting students know that that support is there whenever they want it, even if they might not be able to come to every meeting or come to every event or whatever else. Still, at the end of the day, I'm going to say hi to you. I'm going to let you know I love you. Yeah.
You guys each practice your own level of student activism at your respective colleges and campuses. But what kind of reception have you found from other students on campus because of their activism? And how do you think we might change the opinion of those who do not see the need to make changes that are very much needed?
Wow. So when I read that question, when you gave us, you know, the questions prior to, I'm like, wow, man. Because, again, being at an HBCU, you would think that everything is great. Like, you would think it's just great, and it's not. So sometimes, I'm from Memphis, Tennessee, if you haven't kind of caught on to my accent just a little bit. And so I came to Harris-Stowe State University, transferring from Hampton University. And, you know, Hampton is a really big private HBCU. If people see it on your resume, they're like, oh, you're great, you know. So I transferred from there, and coming to Harris-Stowe, people are like, who do you think you are? Why do you have to do that? You came all the way to St. Louis just to call yourself to take over, and, you know, things like that. My freshman year, I was Miss Freshman as well as the recording secretary of SGA, so I was kind of like the third person in charge on the executive board. My sophomore year, which was last year, I was vice president of SGA as well as White House Initiative HBCU All-Star, so we had to fly to Washington, things like that. So my student body is consistently seeing my name, my face everywhere. Again, you would think they'll be like, oh, Taevin, what are you doing so that I can do it? Or, you know, I see your success story, so how can I grasp that? Yeah, not at all. So it's a struggle to try to do better for yourself when those around you think that you're doing it to make a name for yourself, which in my family, we always say your name is your shield and your sword, take it with you wherever, because your name is the only thing that will hold weight in this world, you know. your name could be associated with something bad, and that one bad thing could stick with you forever. So just staying focused, staying positive, even when those don't see your purpose, your passion, your vision. Well, that's why you only see it. Sometimes God allows us these visions that not everyone would agree with, but he gave it to you. He didn't give it to you and that other person, It was given specifically to you. So despite however you may feel, despite your support system, because I found out that support would come from people that I wouldn't even know it would come from. And those who I would wish and hope and pray that it comes from, it doesn't come from them at all. So just understand that your support will come from those that you least expected. Always stay grounded in who you are, and just know that keep your eye on the prize, because someone is looking. Someone is looking. Someone is taking notes of everything that you do, trying to figure out how can they do it in their own way. So never, ever, despite if anyone, like I said, I go to an all-black institution, and I still get rebuttal from those that look just like me, you know? So just keep your eye on the prize and stay focused, stay grounded in who you are. Let's go. Thanks.
Yeah, I think that the truth of the matter is that student activism is a lonely sport to play. I came to SLU resisting and haven't stopped, so that's kind of been my thing. That's not the quickest way to make friends, I found. And there are a lot of times, like, I don't get the brunt of it because of the privileges that I hold, but there are some black students in this room, you know, who get the, like, people are writing things on the wall that, like, talk about you, or, like, somebody said something in Yik Yak that was, like, ridiculous. Like, those are the things that happen to student activists on this campus, particularly student activists of color. And so I think it's, I mean, it's hard, right? Like, that's just true. And I think something that you said, right, like, you will find the support in places you don't imagine. Even, I think as someone who does activism, you will have debates and sometimes broken friendships over the work that you do. And at a certain point, you have to say, that's okay, we move forward, the support will come. And yeah, it's really a matter of faith, whether that's like a religious thing for you or not, but just like trusting that it's going to be okay eventually, but not maybe knowing that at the time. And yeah, it's a matter of coming back to, why are you doing what you do? Why do you do what you do? Do you do it for the praise? Do you do it so people will know who you are? You know, why? What is your purpose? What is your mission? So for me, when I feel kind of attacked based on the activities I choose to be a part of, I have to come back to, like, I'm doing this for liberation. That's why I'm here, and not just liberation of myself, although that's important, liberation of everyone who looks like me and who's darker than me and who holds different identities than I hold. So it becomes less and less important about who's supporting you, because at the end of the day, when you're fighting for liberation, there will be someone. You're not the first one to do this. You won't be the last. There are always people who are going to be around you who maybe you don't know at the time, but somebody might send you an email and say, I saw you protesting at the clock tower. Thank you. And that could be the start of a friendship.
For me, going to a PWI, like LaShell said a little bit ago, I feel like I would say that 90% of our students don't receive us well. The moment that you put black in front of anything on that campus, it immediately gets written off as, oh, they just want to talk about their problems or how their life is so rough. Well, no, that's not all I want to do. If talking about it changed something, things would have changed a whole, they would have changed a very long time ago. And at this point, talking doesn't change anything. So for me, at this point, trying to lead an organization to make a change on a campus where we really don't have a voice is difficult. I think that when you're in a constant situation where no one even wants to hear you, it's difficult in itself. And then on top of that, to be a black student, period, when the first thing that someone notices about you is the fact that you're black, and then you open your mouth and you speak with eloquence, and then they question, oh, you speak like that? That's the first problem with the reception. You can't even receive me well as a person. So how can you receive an entire group of people that look and sound the same, but you can't even look at me and think that I could potentially speak at the same level as you?
I think for me, again, my experience is a little bit different with my undergrad being in 2008. I graduated in 2013. So the movement that we know of now, of like really getting out in the streets and all of that, it wasn't there before. But I still tried to bring things to the campus. I remember my first program when I entered my organization was called Save My Dying Soul. But it was more of a presentation. So people like things simple like that, right? They like something that you can just come to, listen to, and hey, I listened to a black person's problem for an hour. I did a good job. So once I kind of left campus, so you leave, you have all these friends. I went to PWI, so you have all these diverse friendships, and everybody accepts you. But once I kind of got a little bit more radical, once my Facebook, my Instagram, and my Twitter, you could not get away from a black life. You could not see anything from me other than that. I lost a lot of friends. I lost a lot of friends that looked just like me. I realized at the time a lot of people aren't ready to accept it because there's so much going on. And you have to learn that. It's so much going on in people's lives. If you don't have to focus on this, why? So it was a lot of life lessons for me, but also being in St. Louis where everything was going on, I recorded a lot and put things up on my social media. So having people that I did go to college with, having people that was still in college, like, hey, I'm in Cape Girardeau. We are like minority times 3 here. What can I do? And for somebody to look towards me to help them do something in a different city, like they said, like you will find those people, because when I say I was getting bashed by friends, everybody from there, but those people reached out. Those people came here to learn. I got to make some introductions for people. So like I said, my experience with it is a little bit different, but I do agree with all the panelists that it's hard, but you will find your niche in it to keep the positivity flowing and to also keep you knowing that you're doing the right things and what you're supposed to be doing.
I definitely think that everybody's experience is different with activism, just hearing everybody's voice from different PWIs and HBCUs. Out of PWI myself, I think the hardest thing was realizing that you're doing all that you can, and doing the small things will inhibit other people after you to be able to take it further. So you want to, as a young person, you want to just do something so impactful that it just changes everything. But at the end of the day, it doesn't start with that most times. It starts from, okay, somebody decided, you know what, we're going to bring back ABC a couple years ago. So my freshman year, it was like 11 of us, or less than that was continuously going. And then now it's grown so much. And the only thing that I can do is build a platform and a foundation so that the people after me can take ABC and everything else that we want to do so much further than I could with what I have. And I think that the campus climate at Maryville, one of the most difficult things is feeling like, am I the one, the loneliness feeling like, am I the one, or are we the only people that are always talking about this, or is it really that people don't care, or that it's just that they don't know? And it's just difficult to get people to come out of their comfort zone at that school, because it's not, like you said, everybody has so much going on. And if you don't have to care about it, if it doesn't directly impact you, 9 times out of 10, you're going to do what you need to do in your life. So even though this is so much of what's important to me, what I'm passionate about, realizing that every time that I get one more non-black student to a diversity dialogue or an event and they learn something, and they always learn something, they always come up to me telling me, like, you know, I never knew these things. Like, it was just good to sit there and listen. It's difficult, but you learn to be satisfied, or, you know, just get satisfaction out of realizing that if you can help one person one day at a time, then you're doing something.
And now we begin our Q&A session. If anybody has a question, please keep it brief and straight to the point, and we have 20 minutes for it, and we line up in the center aisle.
Hello, my name's Andrea Hitzman, and I work in the Office of Admission. I run the tour guide program here. And thank you, Noelle, for your comments, your candid comments about campus. After many years of people telling me that the tour guide group was not diverse enough, I have started just walking down campus, seeing a student of color and saying, "What's your name? Do you want to be a tour guide? Please come work for me." We are now 20% diverse in our entire group, which is actually more than the actual population of the school. So, but I want to hear from you. You chose a PWI, except you, Taevin, sorry. How important was seeing the student of color as a tour guide, or in the brochures, or on the website, in any of the marketing materials? And how can I make my job better, I guess, overall?
Yeah, I definitely want to answer this question. So anytime I'm on a panel, it's really important to me to acknowledge the people who came before me and who brought me to this university. So I'm an MLK scholar on campus, and going to the MLK scholar kind of initial meet and greet during the interview weekend, I was able to meet Brittany Kendrick and Amelia Romo, and able to kind of talk to them, two powerful, beautiful women of color who did a lot on this campus to make it better. So talking to them and hearing the, like, real truth, right? Like, they told me, if you want to go to a university where everything is good and you only have to worry about school, go somewhere else. If you want to go to a university and fight and claw every single day, then you need to come here. And maybe because I'm a masochist or something, that really enticed me, so I came to SLU. But to answer your question, Andrea, it's super important to see students of color on Oriflame and as SLU 101 leaders and as tour guides, because ultimately, again, it comes back to representation. If I come on a university like SLU and I look around and all I see is white people, then I don't want to come here because I'm not white and I don't feel like that's a welcoming environment. It doesn't stop at having students of color and staff of color, you know, as Oriflame people or SLU 101 people or U101 people. That's not all that we need to do. But it's a tangible step to make students feel like this might be, maybe, sometimes a welcoming place for them. I mean, that's why we have BSA, right? Like, that's our job, is to show that this is a safe place for Black people to come and to support them, whether that's academically or just providing a community. So it's vitally important that we have something like that here.
And I, for one, just want to say congratulations and thank you for making those strides to do so. I know Harris-Stowe State University, we just got a billboard last year right by in the area of Chipotle and Grand. I'm sorry, y'all, I'm still learning my streets. And so for us, the image of a Black collegian was big, because I know for me, I was originally born in Greenwood, Mississippi. So if anybody know anything about Mississippi, it's the slums, like the slums. Poverty level, terrible. Average ACT rate, terrible. Just everything is kind of just bad. So to be able to be an example, that's the key thing in Black culture. For us, we never had the here's the path that you need to take, do X, Y, and Z, here's the foundation. Our generation, it was kind of slim. So for me, being in the millennials, that's what they call us, the millennials, it's about paving the way for those that come after us. So I thank you, because now that your students will be able to see black tour guides and see a black student on the brochure, it's like, okay, I can do that. I can go to college. I can, go attain a higher education. I can be something other than what I see every day. My motto is be a product of your decisions and not your environment, because I came from Mississippi and Tennessee. So it's not being a product of your environment, but about your decisions. So thank you.
I have two points to touch on with this, mostly because, well, the first one is to answer the question. I give tours at Lindenwood, so I know what it's like to be in a situation where all you're seeing is white faces when you're a black face on a campus. So for me, walking around campus, anytime I see any of my friends, not just the ones you say hi to, but the ones that you know personally, you know what their goals are, I make it a mission of mine to speak to them while I'm on tour, so that students, whether they're white, black, brown, red, green, purple, they know that this is not just a campus where I'm only talking to my black students. No, that's not what I'm about. And on top of that, I think that when you're looking at the promotional materials that universities use, I know in recent years ours has improved, but when I was applying and looking to go to Lindenwood, I would say that majority of our promotional material didn't have very many people of color. And recently we're still having issues where our promotional material is not diverse enough. So with that said, working in an office of admissions where I give tours, I've seen how they select who's going to be in their promos. They'll go through, they'll pick the pretty people, they'll pick the people that are different. And one thing that I noticed in one of the photos that we used to have was that when they picked people of color, they picked people of color who were fairer skinned, so that when they put the grayscale on the photo, everyone in the photo still looked white. And that's been a major problem for me. And I noticed it a couple months ago, and it just kind of struck me like, why can't being dark be okay? So definitely seeing black people does, or any person of color for that matter, does improve my want to go here. The second point I had, and I hate to go against you, but as a millennial, and this, I found this, I've read several articles on it, we are one of the most difficult generations to deal with at this point, because a lot of the X and Y generation individuals, they went to college, they got degrees, and so they set a path. The path was set. This is what you're supposed to do. This is what you do to be successful. The problem is now with millennials, a lot of millennials feel like, well, you did it, it's supposed to be easy. It's supposed to just be handed to me. Well, sorry, that's not life. Life is hard. Life doesn't just give you anything that you don't work for. So for me, I feel like there is a set path, but do you have to take that path to get where you're going? No.
I just wanted to throw out there that it's very important to see people of color in the brochure and on tour, but especially in the promotional materials that still actually go there, so that it's not just so that you actually see the people and realize that there's real people of color that go here, that I can meet, that I can talk to, that I can interact with. On my tour, maybe it was a bad day, or maybe it was just, I know that Maryville is a completely different university now from where it was my freshman year. On my tour, I don't think I saw any people of color, and my mother went there, and she's an alumni, that's why I went, and I was like, so where are the black people at? She was like, oh, they're probably in class, and I was like, all of them? Like, everybody? So I was just like, well, I mean, I'm going here, I guess, I'll get my education, but I think that students of color as tour guides, that is beneficial to white students as well, because it gives them a familiar face to see so that they can approach them, and maybe that student is involved in a cultural organization and then can introduce them to other people. And people always feel more comfortable discussing or bringing up difficult topics or having a new experience with someone that they feel like they can relate to, or somebody that they know, even just from a meeting. So I think that it can't be understated how important it is.
So I just want to say thank you. It is honestly really tough to look at a problem and proactively go out to solve it. So to even see that, recognize it, take it in, and then do something about it, I always have to thank people. We always say we want change. Somebody's making a change, so thank you. For you. And I cannot, well, for me personally, once again, I started school in 2008, and I still remember my tour to this day. I had 2 African-American girls, and they were just so warm and bubbly, and I'm looking around. This is my first time in Cape Girardeau. I'm looking around. I'm driving down the street. I see nothing but white people. I'm on campus. I see nothing but white people and Asians, and I don't see a lot of black people. But then when I got the chance to talk to them, and they got to tell me kind of like the culture of us on the campus, it made me really want to go there. I did not want to go to Symone at first, so I just want to let you know that it is vital, it is really important, and it probably is the whole reason that I went to Symone today. Well then.
Can we have the next question? For the panelists, can only 2 people answer this next question, because we have about 10 minutes left, so I want these 2 questions to be answered.
Okay, thank you for your courage. My question is, have you had any opportunities yet to speak with the governor of any state that you have ever lived in, the mayors or other political representatives, and how have they responded when you've been able to speak to them about your concerns and your fellow students' concerns? Thanks.
Well, luckily for me, my university president has a lot of, with Dr. Dewan Warmack, he was on the panel before, well, prior to this one. So he has a lot of relations with politicians. So as SGA president, of course, I'm kind of drugged into those situations as well. Well, outside of that, I had the opportunity to intern for State Representative Joshua Peters last summer, as well as I have direct contact with Kim Gardner, who just made history these past couple of days. Right. She made history as our first African-American circuit attorney, so I have relations with her. So the things that we discuss is how can we effectively make change. Now, it's okay to come together and meet and talk, but if we're not coming up with tangible solutions or tangible resolutions, then what are we meeting about? So some of the things that we are discussing is making sure all of our students are registered to vote. Not only are they registered to vote, but they have voters' responsibility. So being registered to vote and voters' responsibility is like 2 totally different things. It's like having the bag of candy but not eating it. So we make sure that our students understand that it is your right to vote. You're responsible to vote. If you say, oh my God, I don't like this, I don't like that, but you're not doing anything about it, then what's the point of talking? Like you're not trying. So those are the type of things that we discuss, and we just make sure that we try to do tangible, like things that we can actually see. We set deadlines for everything, and that's just the direction that we're moving in. So tangible solutions are really the key things that we talk about.
Does one more panelist want to answer the question? Okay. Can we have the next question?
Thank you. Do you have any one suggestion that you would have for the university or for the community to make your experience one in which you're seeing the opportunity really to see your whole entire community flourish by reason of your contribution and with one another? One thought would be, in the event the university put together a program in which it required all freshmen to participate one with another and go out into the community, into all phases of the community in which they be with high school students of all different colors in order to try to gain a better appreciation of one another and of each other's in different races. Thank you.
So at Lindenwood, we have something similar, but it's not a requirement for anyone. It's completely optional. So I want to say in April, March or April, we have a Saturday of service where, you know, they have several different opportunities for community service going out going on where you go out at 9 a.m., you're out till 2 doing community service in the community. But the problem is that it's not required of anybody, and if no one wants to volunteer, then that's how many volunteers they have, none. I do think that if they instilled like some kind of mandatory community service or community outreach initiative, I think that it would be beneficial to our community, but that's probably not going to happen.
I think for me, I hope the folks next door in the CSCE don't get mad at me for this answer, but this is real. We have something like that, a Saturday day of service called Make a Difference Day, and it makes no difference. And that's because we send a majority white cohort into spaces of color for 4 hours on a Saturday and expect that racism will be eradicated by the end of it, and that's just like absurd. We send students into the community to do service, and they never call the service site back, was something that one of my friends said. So I feel like there are more effective ways of making campus a more equitable place. Fund black students to come here. Like that's a pretty reasonable, I think, simple thing that we can do. Is to reach out. And after you reach out and black students say, I don't want to come here because there's no one that looks like me, then we need to reassess what we're doing on campus, and not just give up and say black students don't want to come here, so like throw our hands in the air and say, what are we going to do, right? Like it is white people's job on this campus to work to make this place more equitable and less racist. That's your job. That's not my job. That's your job. So if you're in a staff position, in a position of power as an administrator or a professor, that's your job. And that's something that there are tangible things that we can do. You're not the first university to want to have that goal. There are studies, there are blueprints that other universities are using. So that's something very simple that we can do.
We have about 5 more minutes for this last question.
Hi, from your perspective, who is not a student of color?
That's a very good question. From my perspective, who's not a student of color? That's an interesting look at what color really is, because color is defined by your perception of what it is. So for me, I don't see anyone as not a student of color, but I do see, white students of color, students who are white, that don't experience some of the things that I experience being a black student of color. So who's a student of color? Everyone, sure. But do we all have the same experiential knowledge of what color is? No, not at all.
That's a good answer. Right.
I was going to say I definitely agree with that, because I guess technically we all could be people of color, just it's a range, but at the end of the day, as a white person, or it seems to me anyway, that you don't identify with me as a person of color, therefore you're not putting yourself in the same situation or the same experiences or the same fight or whatever else. So obviously not everybody is that same way. There are people doing what they need to do, but at the end of the day, I identify as a person of color, so if you as a white person want to identify as a person of color, okay, then you got to accept all that entails.
Yeah, that's a good answer. That's a really good answer.
If you want to be. Right, if you want to be.
I feel like this question has the potential to go into a Rachel Dolezal type situation, and I don't really want to go there. But I like the theoretical question. For me, I think, a student of color is someone not of European descent. Race is a social construct. That doesn't mean it's not real. So, if I look in the mirror and I see a black or brown face, I'm a student of color, I'm a person of color. If I look in the mirror and I'm from my family origin is from Europe, then I'm not a student of color. But I like your question. That's good and challenging.
Right. Yeah.
We have this last question being answered by 2 panelists, and then we'll have to break for lunch.
Hi, my name is Destiny, and I'm originally from St. Louis, and I'm currently a student at Princeton University. And my question is, like, what is, and it could be for any 2 people who want to answer it, but like, what is your idea of justice on campus for Black students outside of representation, right? So like, when in conversation about seeing Black people as tour guides, like, I do tours for like low-income Black students at Princeton, and like just because there are Black faces as tour guides and just because there are Black professors and there are a lot of Black administrators at Princeton, that doesn't mean that there's justice, right? So you could be admitted and be Black and not accept it, and they can show you off on a brochure, and that don't mean that that's like a safe or healthy space for Black people there. So my question to y'all is like, what does justice look like to you outside of just Black faces? Because like there's a lot of talk about seeing Black people.
I think with me so institutional situation is just like a government situation with me. So they kind of align in the same way. I want the same opportunities for a Black person as a white person to get accepted into the higher programs, to get jobs, to be able to do whatever they want and feel to do. I want them to be able to feel free on the campus. I went to a PWI, and whenever a crime happened, the statement that went out was, it's a 6'1" Black guy with a fade. I don't want that every time. And 9 times out of 10, when they actually came out, they weren't Black. So my idea of what justice looks like, you said justice, right? I'm sorry. Yeah, for a Black person on campus is the same thing that I want for them in the government. I just want freedom.
So for me, with justice on a campus, it starts with having a voice. When you sign up to go to a private institution, and a lot of people don't realize this, you inadvertently sign away your right to free speech. It's like agreeing to work for a large corporation. If you speak out in a negative way against that company that you decided to work for, they have the right to punish you in some way, shape, or form. They can fire you. Same thing applies at a private institution. That's why I'm very hesitant to push the boundaries at Lindenwood, because I don't know how far I'll have to push before I get pushed back. And while I expect to be pushed back, I don't want to be pushed back to the point that I have to sacrifice my future for it. With that said, at a private institution like Lindenwood, if I decided to have a rally or a protest, they have the right to suspend me or expel me from the institution for publicly, displaying the university in a negative light. So I think the first step for justice on any campus is having a voice. Going to a big state school like Mizzou, where their football players were able to, we're not going to play until, the president resigns. At Lindenwood, that wouldn't be acceptable. They would, we're just going to carry on without you. So what? For them, it's just, I don't feel like we have the voice that we need. Anyone, Black, white, Asian, it doesn't matter. The fact that I don't have the freedom to just walk up, put a poster up that says Black Lives Matter and not have it taken down and receive an email that says, hey, you can't do that. If you do it again, you're going to have to see, the dean of students for your actions. That to me would be the first step of justice, would be to solve that problem of let me post my poster, say what I have to say, and make my peace with it and not punish me for it.
And we have to end it there, but can you give a round of applause for the panelists? We now have an hour break before our next session was the faith session, and that starts at 1:15. Right now we have lunch behind me, and see you guys in an hour.
How are you doing? You look fabulous.
Okay, yeah.
Hi.
Mm-hmm. You shouldn't? Why not?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Okay.
Really?